a good morning to you. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is Zenzere Ndebele, and this is the Breakfast Club. And today in our show, we are lucky to have one of the, I don't know whether to call him one of the freedom fighters, one of the war veterans, one of the combatants. We'll be talking about all these issues and all these terms. And lapha sikhuluma ngobabu Andrew Nyathi. He fought for the liberation of this country. He played a very big role after independence, and he's still playing a very big role. He's one of the people who, wrote books in the 90s. But also, he's a founder member of Isimukai Cooperative, which when I was reading around, was one of the most successful cooperatives in 1980. But in Esikatsempi, his name was abanye babesithi nguTommy, kulabanye babembiza ngoShoti, abanye babembiza ngoKhomisar, depending at what point you had interacted with him. So he is really an interesting character because ube nguKhomisar, and I still feel like so in this program, we'll learn a lot from him, but also we want to understand a lot of things when we look at the history of Zimbabwe. Yes, we fought, we won, we celebrated, but we are still in the struggle for economic empowerment, the struggle for many other things, and I want to understand from him, now that he has the hindsight, where does he think things went wrong and what can be done? So, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I know there is a lot of things that is so I don't want to dwell much on but initially I just want us to tell us a bit about your early childhood. Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Cholocho. I was born in the kitchen of my mother. So that's where I grew up in Cholocho. I didn't learn much in terms of politics until when my uncle Umbabu Makati Nkutuza got me interested when he was sent back from South Africa to here, when there were a lot of fights. So that gave me a lot of curiosity to try to understand how things work and so on. So that's where I really learned a lot about politics, and I was really very much interested in that, because even before I knew about politics, when people asked me, when you grow up, what are you going to do? I said, no, I'm going to be a lawyer. Anything which was related to the social life of the people, that's where my interest was.
I mean, like many other kids during that time, you end up joining the struggle. You go to Zambia. I think you are trained in CGT, part of the group of 1,200. Then after that, you go for further training, AGDR. What further training was this?
So this was really basically about politics or social life, how to deal with the politics, how to deal with social life, what is the construct of our lives, basically how all the different facets of life relate to each other and how we can take things forward. I went to Parteischule in Dresden in Germany, and I managed to visit areas where Hitler was killing people, and I saw many things. I learned a lot in Germany about what they were doing. And on my own volition, at my own spare time, I even learned how to speak the German language, to a point where I would just have a conversation because I was very much interested to know what happened, why did these things happen. So that is what happened when I was in Germany. And then when I finished, I came back and I was deployed in Urungwe.
There are a lot of interesting stories in Urungwe that I want us to talk about. But before speaker Kwanapo, tell us what you think was special in training as Zebra. Because whenever I talk to Zipra about Tina Zatrena civil, what was different from you training as Zipra from other liberation movements and probably other people were training at that particular time?
So I would start by saying the earlier cadres trained what we used to call commando in Algeria and places to make sure that every other situation imaginable in the war, you should be able to survive. You were not going to be a hero by dying. You're going to be a hero by making sure that every situation which confronts you, you are able to deal with that. For a start, we had a challenge of crossing the rivers. So you had to do the training about that, just to use a rope and so on and cross. But you cross with your food, with your combats, with your gun, with everything. You have to do that training, which allows you to be able to do those things. We had to deal with many situations, even deal with how to infiltrate the enemy, how to be a garden boy in Salisbury, Bulawayo, and so on, and still be a soldier. So we really were trained in many different aspects. And if you get injured, what are you going to do? You had also to know about medicine, you had to know about everything which a soldier needs. And remember, as guerrillas, you are deployed in small units. So there's no way you are now going to have some hospital somewhere or some clinic. You are going to be the clinic yourselves. You're going to be the hospital yourselves. And you had to master everything. So the training of Zipra was very thorough, very, very thorough, to make sure that you survive. You confront the enemy, know how to retreat if you are confronted by difficulties. If the enemy is stronger, you know how to retreat, you know how to advance. If you manage to overcome the enemy, you know how to take the tools, the weapons of the enemy, the uniform of the enemy, and take it and use it for further action, combat action as you go forward, so that the enemy doesn't know you. For example, I would say some of our guys, they would put on the uniform of the enemy and you walk to a camp and you go there with all your things, and then the enemy soldiers salute you because and remember, in the army, it is not your face, it is the decoration on you, which matters. So they wouldn't know, yet you are doing reconnaissance. So you would do everything very much inclusive. So master the weapons, master how to lay plant mines, how to do all these things. You had to learn everything. But you also had to learn how to talk to the people. And remember, we were one army which understood that we were fighting for the people. We were fighting to liberate the people. So we were not bigger than the people. So we would take ideas from them. But you are trained to understand and analyze things and get to know any situation. So I can say that the training of Zipra was very thorough.
Yeah, I'm interested in the last point. You are deployed in Urungwe. And if I look at our operations as Zipra in Urungwe, I would say in hindsight, probably you guys went in a hostile environment. Zipra was initially predominantly Abandaba Commission level. You get in a Shona speaking area. But you create bases, you create, people love you to a certain extent, particularly barrier language somehow. How do you manage to do that?
Well, I was with, no, we were not just develop speaking. We had, our commander was, for example, Makarasadza. was comes from Kutu, I think. He came from Kutu. I think it was the young brother of Koronga. And then we had Ishmael Kabaira, who came from Rewa. He was with me. And we had many other Shona-speaking guys who were deployed together with us. So, but there wasn't that differentiation in us, because for us, we were taught that language is simply a means of communication. It is not a means of identity. It is not a way of identifying a person. It's a way of communication. So you had to find ways of communicating. And our people, the guerrillas, we had the chance to learn how to speak Shona. I wouldn't say there was not one person who would fail to communicate with the people, because that's where we needed, that's where we got the water, we got the food, we got the steam. So because we were people of the steam. So everything depended on the masses. So we had to master the communication with the masses. But the language was not really a barrier at all.
So, there's something, maybe it's because Katesi Mbali book about the Battle of Urungwe, which is written by someone who was in the Rhodesian force as well. But it gives me an impression with the Latin figure Urungwe Lapana, you called it, or he refers, says, Zipra says Urungwe was a liberated zone. And laseli kholisa kuyini ongathi izakhamizi zeUrungwe zazi identify lani more than they identified probably lamakhiwa?
Well, firstly, remember, everybody knew that the government of the day then was a white man's scheme. Even if they changed it to Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, or Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, something like that, but everybody understood that this is not our government. And we were very fortunate ourselves as Zipra, because remember, every other corner of Zimbabwe had ZAPU influence. So there's no space, there was no area where there was nobody who is connected to ZAPU. When we came to the place, to an area, we would simply ask the villagers who is in charge and so on, where are the structures of ZAPU, and then we would relate with them easily. They all understood that all of us were Vanavev. There was no idea of tribalism dominating in the people's minds. They all understood that we were fighting for their freedom, and the invaders had taken over their country and they wanted their country back. So that's why they identified with us much more easily. But they also understood that the enemy was using other tactics to be able to try to thwart our advance.
So there is when you're talking about the enemy using other methods, there was something interesting in your area where you're operating, Ishiyama Selu Scouts, where Selu Scouts would pretend to be Zanlas, call for a meeting, then attack. Did you have any of those incidents?
Well, ourselves, we were quite disciplined and we understood what we were doing. And we were against a situation where the peasantry was put in danger of being killed by the enemy. We know that Zanla had this idea of pungwes. They would gather the villagers, make them sing and so on. We were against that. We didn't think that that was the way. We thought that as soldiers, we should never put the people who were not armed, who who depended on us for their defense in danger, because we knew that if you do that, then the enemy would come and they would be killed. And you had a gun, would be able to run away. We were trained to maneuver and so on. And so we really didn't like that.
But obviously, in these cases, I saw Konama cases where civilians would be killed in a crossfire when they attack.
Yes, that would happen, but not in our area where we were. In our area, it would not happen, because we were very strong there, and the villagers liked us, and we were completely against, and we would talk to the villagers. Luckily, I was the one who was always speaking to the villagers, talk to them, explain to them issues and so on. And we were explaining even that aspect, that don't allow yourselves to be put in danger by our soldiers. Not only Zanla, but even Zebras were not allowed to do that. We were not allowing that because we thought that was putting people in danger. And these people were defenseless. And if they would lose confidence in us, then we would be done. Because where will we get food? Where will we get everything which we depended on them?
So area in operational area Urungwe was quite big. This was
it was very big.
BL1. So during your days, which areas did you operate in, as you told?
Well, as it were, we started actually even from Kurove, going down up to Kokwe. All that area was under us as the command a team or command group, because we had two high command members, Richard Mataure and the high command for engineering was Savan. I don't know where he is now, but Richard was still in touch. Savan, I don't know where he is, but he was the engineer, the chief of engineering. Those people who even attacked the tanks and so on were falling under him.
You mentioned one controversial area, I mean, in the Bama tanks. There are so many people who have claimed tanks. And if you're looking at the operational areas as Zipra, the people who attacked the tanks would have come from your operational area. And what would you say about that operation?
I don't know on what basis people would claim that, because the commander of that unit was Quattro. Quattro was under my unit, but under Savan. And Quattro was the one who was commanding the guys who went in. They split into two. Some went to, unfortunately, the two townships in Harare, Salisbury then. Then what they did is that in today's terms, they hijacked two taxis, meter taxis. So can you please take us there and take us there? But they were communicating and they knew where to meet. And even to go to the tanks, they used those taxis on the same time, because then once you have told the person has realized that he's carrying a freedom fighter, a guerrilla, then you had no other way. So they had to comply. And these guys went there, and one guy remained in the taxi, and the other one came out, and the other one were doing the cover, so that the taxi guys don't run away. So, and then he threw the the bazooka there, and then when the bazooka went off there, they went into the taxi to go and meet our chairman who was in Msengezi. And then the taxi guys were left there, but they couldn't, they would not, we made sure that they could not see the other person. So who was the chairman, because that would put them, and we told them, can you go back? And then they went back. And I know the enemy was very angry. And they chased, and some of our guys were caught and they were killed.
Including Ukwatro?
Yes. So how people would claim this, I don't understand. Me, myself personally, I was in Kadzema. You see, just beyond Norton. That's where we were sitting there, on the river there. You see that river, Kadzema. We were there. So I don't know how people would claim and so on. But let's say in Sindebele, lifales tutas, lidliwa izwool. I mean, lifales wool, lidliwa islaganiphi. Even because we were defeated, that's why people can now claim this and the other thing. They have no right to claim that. Not at all. So, but they are claiming because we were defeated in the elections. But if we were not defeated and not disarmed, nobody would be saying that. They wouldn't say that because we would produce the proof. Lenora, I've remembered. The other guys were in Lenora. 2 guys were in Lenora. I will remember the other. I don't know how you'll fix that up in your thing. So the guys, they were 5. That's all. I don't understand why people would claim that. What does it help them? But of course, they are claiming our history. They are claiming our victories. They are claiming our triumph. They are claiming what we won. Because they are afraid of one thing. Their children will say to them, how did you win? You won by dying. Because if you won, you must have won by victory in a battle. So where is your battle? So that is what they are afraid of. And that is why they are claiming this thing. Because they know that their own children will ask them, where did you do the operations? What did you do? And the facts are stubborn. What I'm saying now will never go away. Someone in Kadzema now knows what I am talking about. I may not know the person, but they know that the Zipras were there. This is what happened because when the flames went up, all that area, it was just like, it was like it's a big light. So everybody, those people who participated, they know. One day they will say, these are the hard facts, this is what we know. And someday the lie will go back to the owners and say, you lied, so can you swallow us, please? Because the lies will find them.
So there's something interesting that there are 5 guys who were in this operation.
Yes.
And I'm sure not all of them died, but we've never heard of them.
No, but this is the problem. Do you see now, how many years am I doing this interview? If you interviewed me, say 10 years ago, say 5 years ago, I would have refused. Because the enemy is still there. The enemy is still there, and you are now protecting yourself. You can't go around and say, it's me, because some people got injured, some people lost things, and some people are angry against us, and therefore they would come to us. Today, the situation has been a little bit softened against us, so that is why I'm able to say it. But if you asked me a few years back, I would say, no, I don't know about that.
Yeah, you're mentioning a very interesting issue that is things have softened. And I see with Amakiwa, mostly the Rhodesians are writing all sorts of history about what happened in their operational areas. One of the things that Zipras don't want to talk about, and they've avoided it a lot, is the downing of the Viscount. In your part, in hindsight, do you think it was a mistake?
It would be wrong for me to say it was a mistake given the information we had then. But we were in a war. War is not about kissing people. War is not about kissing people. And somehow people get into the crossfire. And given the information which we had, and the decision which was made, it was correct then. It was correct then. But obviously, as humans, you don't want to take human life. But if you are given a gun to deal with the enemy, and when the enemy is on site, it is a target. It is not a human being. It is a target. We're trained to shoot targets. We're not trained to shoot people. So that is very important. So if according to the commander there is a target, and the commander says attack, you can't say there's human beings there. You shoot a target. So a target you don't know. As a soldier, you don't know how it looks like. The commander tells you this is a target, and you shoot, because this is what you are trained to do. We're not too trained to analyze and think and understand and so on. That's not what we're trained to do. We're trained to shoot a target.
Yeah, then you bring very interesting things. But when you are looking into, for us who are historians, looking into history, and someone says, from that, the Zipra in Urungwe starts facing the Rhodesians come after you.
Yeah, they came serious.
After,
not.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was very difficult. But what we did in that area, they were growing cotton. So a lot of us went into the cotton bags, and the villagers would put cotton on us, and the soldiers, the enemy soldiers, would come and think that is cotton bales. We were inside there, some of us, but some, of course, couldn't succeed, because remember, as a guerrilla, you also use your own tactics as an individual. So, but by and large, a lot of us survived there. We got into the cotton bales and the covers, and then the enemy soldiers thought, oh no, this is our bales. They were looking for us, and we were there.
There's around 78, 79, there's this element, what they call it, Fumorevano, the People's Army.
Yeah, Fumorevano, yeah.
Yeah, did you at some point?
Yes, we encountered them.
Yeah.
But those Fumorevano, they were always running. They were always running away, because they knew they couldn't face us. They were always running away. So we dealt with them, because we dealt with them not because they were Fumorevano, as I said. We dealt with them because the commander says, there is the target, deal with them. So we had no business of analyzing what the Fumorevano must do. It was my duty to explain later